right, and we are in the real estate business for a moment. We just want to understand how best you can correctly value your investment property. Most of the times we get lots of chunks of monies and we say that, you know what, I want to get a home, I want to get a piece of land somewhere. But just how many cases have you had of people, you know, investing, but then again in the wrong places? And we ask ourselves, just what is this that is in the land system? A couple of minutes, we had the gentleman that were talking about, you know, the digitization of land and how much of a hassle it is. We ask ourselves whether it is working in the country or not. We're in that phase also where we're talking about affordable housing. We really need to understand just how much the government is incorporating, you know, or is involving the private sector as pertaining to successfully getting this. And even those ones that are involved, just how legit of entities are they? Yesterday, we had a story on the papers as pertaining to, you know, the affordable houses that are supposed to be done in Machakos County. And this story in the paper speaking as to the integrity issues as pertaining to the country, the institution that was accorded this tender. While, of course, these are activities that are ongoing, reality is that we cannot stop developing. And so we get into this very conversation. We hope that you could join us, ask all the questions you would want to ask, because on board, we have specialists from this very sector to enlighten us some more. George Mburu, who's seated right next to me, is the CEO of Mizizi Africa Homes, a household name in the world of housing, and equally a friend of the show. Karibu sana, George.
Asante.
And we also have Joe Mtetei, Business Development Manager of Vanki Homes, as pertaining to as well this conversation. And beyond that, we'll also get to know what's different they do in the market so that we can trust them. Karibu sana, Joe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for creating time to be with us. And so, short for me, George ni?
George.
Si George kunanga Joe, si Joe, nikuwe hapa confused, nijikute I am saying oh just square and all that. So here we are. And I think ours this morning is to understand just how best one can put a proper investment.
Sure.
Everyone wants to own land. Everyone wants to own a house at some point in time. But there's that fear, because some of us, would even save for years.
Sure.
So that you get it right. Yeah. And imagine after saving all those years, you buy a piece of land and then you come there and you realize that we have three other people have a title to the same piece of land.
Sure.
Just what is happening in this industry and how different are we catching up?
Sure. Yeah, thank you very much. And for sure, that is a phenomenon that has been there. And it has really made the cartels, and it has made our land and the value of our land to really depreciate, because investors, not only Kenyans but even foreign investors, they are very afraid of investing because of those things that you have mentioned. Because you can imagine putting on your investment only for you to realize that you have now to go to court because there is a dispute. It's very discouraging for any investor. So that is something that needs to be looked at. And actually, I'm happy because the government is digitalizing the titles, and I'm sure that is going to remove all those cartels and all those aspects. And also the private sector, like us, Mizizi Africa Homes Limited, we have now changed our kind of approach. We are starting by giving people the title, and we are calling our concept buy, we build, because we have realized that when the investor or the client has the title first, it gives him a lot of freedom even to look for financing to do the project in case they stall along the way. It also gives the customer that confidence, and for sure people have lost their confidence in investing in real estate, which is very lucrative. So if we can just reverse that and have people having the titles before even the construction or the development, for sure it is going to remove all these problems that we are having, and for sure we are going to make affordable housing, even Vision 2030, come to be realized.
And realized.
Yeah.
Realistic. Joe, if it is not at the level of buying land, then it's at the level of construction, where you get a contractor and sometimes they will not give you the best of quality. Sometimes they will overcharge you. There'll be a lot of confusion. And then we ask ourselves, just what does it take for one to get it right when they put up such a humongous investment. And I say humongous because even your simple mabati house is an expensive affair. We know how expensive land is today, and especially land that is in prime areas. We also know how expensive construction is today, in as much as companies like yours then would come in to bring that aspect of affordability, even as you tell us what you do.
Thank you so much, Linda. First of all, normally say, to a large extent, it is the ignorance of the customer to the first extent.
Okay.
One, before you invest into real estate, you're supposed to conduct absolute due diligence. This is to ensure that the property that is purportedly being sold to you actually belongs to the people who say they're selling it to you. Remember, land is a devolved unit of this current government, this system. However, the digitalization of the land registry has not been effected yet, because they had a trial in Nairobi, and however, up to now, it has not been successfully rolled out, like e-Citizen and the NTSA TeamSkit. However, there are processes and procedures one needs to put in place to ensure that, one, as you put it at first, the land they are being sold has not been sold to another client in the first place. When you are being sold land or being sold a property, before you even conduct a land search, before you even start negotiating of the prices and all that, the first step is to visit that particular site. Once you visit that particular site, you'll be able to ascertain, one, the topography of that particular place. Number two, the speculation in terms of the surrounding of that particular place. Number three, you'll be able to meet the people who are selling you that land. If it is the owner, if it is not the owner, if it is an agent, they need to give you an authority to sell later. This affirms some confidence before you go ahead and now do a due diligence at the lands registry. The beauty about doing due diligence at the land registry is simple. Once you conduct a land search, then you can be able to ascertain, is this land currently involved in any litigation? Is this land currently being used to obtain loans from banks or any financial institutions? Those are the first fundamental steps one needs to take before they even go ahead and say now they're going to negotiate or they're going to buy that particular piece of land. About the contractors, there are a lot of quack contractors today in this country. And I'm sorry to say this, but it is the reality. You call a spade a spade. However, when you look at the NCA, National Construction Authority, they have a platform where they have all listed contractors and all that. I would wish if all contractors would be rated based on completed projects. Like a contractor has completed project A, project B, project C. They are rated based on the time vis-a-vis the output they put into that particular project. Because this will help most investors in identifying qualified contractors and contractors who are authentic and who are going to deliver as per what they have requested them to do.
And you know, I would want to say that the conmen are a step ahead in most cases, but like you rightfully put it, we get into this space with lots of ignorance. As you know, you just say, si ule ni ule mama mzee anataka kuuza shamba zake apunguze, so wacha mimi niende hapo. You do some casual way of, you know, transfer and all that, and you really do not get into the in-depth of it. Just what precautions are available today for, you know, a person who'd love to invest in real estate, and just how flexible and easy is it to interact with them, so that we could say then clients would get from this phase where they're ignorant and they do due diligence before they buy a property.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much. And as Joe has said, for sure, lack of information is causing a lot of people to lose the money, because you find that not a majority of people who are conversant with those processes, even going to do due diligence, going to the lands registry, going to the Surveyor of Kenya to get the map. Not everybody is conversant because of lack of information, or maybe for one reason or another. But it's very important for sure to do your proper due diligence. It's proper to go to the ground, talk to the people on the ground, because if you are just meeting somewhere and you are not meeting the people on the ground, actually land, there's a lot of family disputes, even land that has a legit title. But you find that for a family to dispose, let's say, a piece of land, and this is very crucial, especially for developers and people who are planning to resell. Because you find that some developers actually risk the investment of investors. you find an investor is out of the country, and for them to come do all those things, it's not possible. So they rely on the developer, and now the developer is so focused on making the money, they fail to focus on the crucial thing. And by so doing, you find that they risk the investment of so many people, and which also has a very negative ripple effect on the economy of the country. But now the point is to realize that land is a capital, just like any other capital, like human capital, like we have money itself or finance, and also the same way. And land capital is actually one of the biggest capitals a country can never utilize. But you find that even going to the lands, sometimes you find there's that laxity. But we are happy with the digitalization. We believe everything is going to be seamless, because when you just log in into the eCitizen and or the government portals that they will provide, for sure it will become much easier.
With the hope that data is protected, yes.
Yeah, definitely the government, and we are happy it has realized that digitalization and digital is the way to go. You realize that when Jubilee, its term, it was talking about digital. That times it looked like just a rocket science or something that is not clear, but now it's obvious. And the president has committed that in the next 6 months, every or most of the government operations are going to be online. For sure, this is going to remove a lot of laxity that we have seen in the government offices. It is going to remove a lot of cartels who come now in between to try and show those people who are not informed of the processes. And in so doing, you also find that is why you come to find the cartels, because information is not out there. But if this information is clearly disseminated to the public, and the public now is very much enlightened, everybody now has become digital. Whether you have gone to school, whether you are just maybe a Form 4 leaver, or anybody who is interested with online, it's not as difficult as we used to back in the days.
Okay, Joe, you have spoken about the fact that we have, contractors and developers that, we cannot trust today. So what needs to be done for one to know that, this then is a contractor that I can trust? This one is perhaps legit. Like you have rightfully said, there are instances where you'd go to, places where you're able to see whether these ones are registered, whether they are, fully allowed to handle this. So what are some of these ways perhaps to walk the people who are watching us this morning through?
Thank you very much, Linda. First, I'll say there are two categories of these contractors that are currently making schemes to con people. One is the off-plan housing that has really picked up in Kenya. However, most people have now found it easier and said, okay, since I'm not paying one-off, I'm not paying instantly for this particular house that I'm buying, then I would rather be paying in bits. All right. However, they fail to conduct due diligence on some of these companies that purport to offer this off-plan housing in the first place. Because one, before you even decide to engage a company and say you want to negotiate with them about a specific project, the first step is this company, how long has it been in existence? What are some of the projects this company has successfully initiated, executed, and handed over to the clientele that they have? What are the social media and websites for some of these companies? Because some of this information you can be able to verify, even just looking by the reviews that people have left online or on other platforms. And then number 3, NCA, National Construction Authority, is there, and NCA lists all contractors in the country. You can easily identify a contractor based on the class that they have been awarded. Because once you go to the NCA portal and you have engaged a contractor and you check that this contractor belongs to a specific kind of class, you are able to tell that this contractor can handle a specific kind of job, a specific kind of budget, or a specific kind of investment. Because when we fail to do that, and people are good at selling, people are good at marketing, they'll come to you and they will tell you, we will be able to deliver this at 3/4 the cost of what other people are offering. And you know, Kenyans, we are good at saving. We like saving so much. Then now we fall into that trap and decide, you know what, I think this contractor will give me a good deal. Let me go and save. And instead of approaching a more qualified contractor who would have charged me a little bit higher, more premium, then you decide it's time for saving. Number two, for individual properties like homes, houses, and those investments people do on their own, it is the same process, because this contractor will be able to do the same function as the contractor who's working for developers or for real estate companies. So I think for me, the bottom line is key. Due diligence. Due diligence, whether it's land, whether it's contractor, whether it's someone who tells you, I'll do painting for you, I'll do electrification for you. Due diligence is fundamental. Yes.
You started by saying that it's important that you buy. Now the client buys and then you build. And even in the process of buying, you walk them through. How does one then get to know that, with the very many land brokers in the market, that this one is a legit one to work with?
Sure. Yeah, thank you very much. And for sure, that concept that we as Mizizi Africa Homes Limited have come up with is actually an improvement of the off-plan. Because what happens with off-plan, and we have been in the off-plan, and off-plan for sure is not only here in Kenya, it is being used in Dubai, it is being used all over. The most important thing is that there needs to be transparency. You find that here in Kenya, off-plan is not transparent. Nobody actually can really explain to you clearly what is meant by off-plan. But if there are clear policies and clear procedures and clear processes, for sure off-plan, because off-plan, what basically it means is that people are given that opportunity before the house is constructed. Because you find that somebody who has already constructed and now they are selling, that person may have maybe taken a loan from somewhere. That person may have used their own savings, they may have used their own money, and at the end of the day, they want a return. That's why you find that most of the ready houses, they are so expensive. And again, when you are buying a house that is already complete, it's very hard to tell which components or what has gone into the construction. But you find that with off-plan, you can be able to verify even the quality of the stone, the quality of the cement, the quality of everything. You're able to ascertain. But when you're buying something ready, it can be very good looking in the outside, from the outside. But when you find out what has been used in the inside, you find it is something that is not long lasting. So at the end of the day, you do not get your value for your money. But off-plan, you're able to get something quite affordably. You're able to ascertain the quality of materials used. You're able to walk the journey step by step. The only problem is that you find with off-plan, there's a lot of gray areas that are not clear. So even a customer, when they are putting their hard-earned money, they do not even understand. They just want to put the money because they know they do not know how. But that process, you find either by design or by default, they are not involved in the step by step of the construction. And this is a journey mostly you find that the developer and the investor or the homeowner or the person interested in the home, it's a two-way traffic. It can't be gone alone. So you need, first of all, yes, to do the proper due diligence, to ascertain that the property on which you are constructing or your house is being constructed is legit and has already been acquired, and so on and so forth. Then you need to be involved in the construction process, because at the end of the day, that is your house. That's why we, like us, Mizizi Africa Homes Limited, we encourage people to do customization as the process is ongoing, and we encourage you walk the journey. You do not only make the monthly payment, but also visit the site, ask questions, talk to the technical team, because you find that a majority of clients, they do not even want to talk to the technical team. They do not even know who is the name of the foreman or the operations manager on the ground, which is very crucial. Then now we reverse that and we make it very clear that we are starting off by having the title. And everybody can have the access to the title. You can be able to see the title. First of all, you as the client also get involved first of all, purchase that piece of land yourself.
And
Have
we'll
it under your name.
All right, and we'll come to that, purchasing the right piece of land, because, I mean, just how many times have people bought land and before you know it, you want to set up a structure, it's the raining season and it's all wet and damp and clearly it's a swamp, and then you start asking yourself, what is this that I got myself into? So sometimes you really need to understand whether then this land that you're buying is good land, is healthy land. What are some of the things to look out for?
One, there are a number of things you need to look out before you buy a piece of land, for instance. I'll specifically talk about land. One is the location. The location of the land is, you need to ascertain the type of land. Is it agricultural land? Is it industrial land? Is it commercial land or is it residential land? That is one. Then number two, you need to identify is the kind of title deed that particular piece of land has. Is it freehold title or is it leasehold title? Freehold title means you will own this land for as long as you have the title deed. However, leasehold title means you will own this land for the specified period according to the constitution, which is normally renewable after every 99 years. Then number three, you need to look at the surroundings. The surrounding, this is the economic activity. Are there industries around? Are there social amenities around? This will help in terms of the ROI, the return to investment of this particular piece of land that you are talking about. Then also you need to look at the topography. The topography in the essence that in case it rains, there's some lands you buy them during the dry season. However, when it rains, you realize you were sold a swamp.
Yes.
So topography is very fundamental. Once you are able to ascertain that the kind of the land that you are interested in the first place is in a good area, a good drainage system exists, then that is a plus for you. And then also now it all goes back to again now the ownership of this kind of land. Is this land owned by the purported owners who claim they own this particular piece of land? Because some of these things, they all work in tandem with each other. Because you see, if land is good, no matter how good it is, and it does not have proper documentation, does not have documents to support the ownership of this kind of land, then honestly speaking, what you're buying, you could be buying air in the first place. And you see, in most instances, people buy land that are still under succession. The owner died long time ago, and the title deed is still registered in the name of the owner. Then you go, you buy that piece of land, succession has not yet been completed, and then you realize the owner, the initial owner had children or sons who also had interest in this particular piece of land. So you end up losing money to this particular piece of land because of just not having followed the due process that is required before you buy this particular land. The key to buying any piece of land or investing in any land is one, the return to investment. Because we all invest for one thing in mind. We need a return on our investment. Because again, in any business, it's all about the payback period. How long will it take for me to recoup my investment? And land being a factor of production, as Mr. George had initially stated, land never depreciates. It's very, very hard or very rare for you to find land depreciating in essence. So I believe these are fundamentally some of the issues that any person investing in land need to look at before they finally make that step and say, I want to buy this particular piece of land.
And now that you speak about land always, appreciating, we have understood that over time, historically, we have seen the prices, always shooting up closely to inflation, and we ask ourselves, just how do we create and maintain that value? But even before we respond to that, one more question as pertaining to, getting the right land, healthy land for that very matter, and now coming to the aspect of construction. Just how different is land that is swampy treated to land that is okay, or land, from different areas? Just how different are they supposed to be treated? Before you respond to that, perhaps, Mr. Director, do we have a break or we proceed? Yes, let's take a quick short break and then we come respond to that.
Thank you.
Tricent School of Medical Health Science and Technology is a premier training institute for market-driven courses. With state-of-the-art facilities, competent and dedicated members of staff, and linkages with the medical industry, you are assured of a bright future when you study with us. Enroll today in our campuses at Juja, Nairobi West, Kisumu, and Homa Bay.
Ask you a question. What do you love? Is it chocolate? Is it ice cream? Is it cake? Or is it flowers? My favorite thing is chocolate and some flowers, and also Kids on the Block. What is your favorite color?
Red.
Catch us every Saturday at 9 a.m. Bye, kids.
Well, in studio with me, Joe Mtete, Business Development Manager, Vanke Homes, on my farthest. This is left, right? And right next to me is George Buru, the CEO of Mizizi Africa Homes. And so, George, straight to you and to that very important and crucial question. How do you establish that this is healthy land for buying? And sometimes, you know, you're not buying, perhaps it's inherited land.
Sure.
And you want to contract Mizizi Africa Homes to come and develop this piece of land for you.
Sure.
How different is the treatment, you know, for these various kinds of land?
Sure. Yeah, thank you very much. One thing you will appreciate with the value of land is that the value of land differs depending on the location, because you will find a land that is very near highways and a land that is within town is quite a bit on the higher side as compared to a land that is further interior somewhere. So the first thing that you need to do is to look at what you are you constructing. That is the most important thing, because it's not advisable you go do an apartment in the interior somewhere you'll not be getting rental income or a return on investment, as my brother had said. The most important is your need. What is your need and what kind of return are you looking at? Because if you're just looking at having a home, a basic home, and for every person, and that is what the government is pushing, is making people stop just being tenants and start having their own home. Even if you are going to pay the same rent that you are paying, you pay for 20 years. By the end of that time, you have that house as yours, which is something that a lot of people have ignored. They have they do their calculation and they feel because you are just paying, let's say 5,000, 10,000, it's not a lot of money. But if you accumulate that money over time, it's a lot of money. So for such kind of a person, you may not tell them to be so choosy, as long as the place is safe and it's not within the water riparian or it's not swampy, as my brother has said. Because if you buy somewhere that is swampy, you have witnessed in Athi River people water seeping in their houses, which is actually very dangerous and a lot of losses. You get a lot of losses. So depending with what you want, is it a first home? If it's a first home, I want to encourage first-time homeowners. Let us not be so choosy, especially with the location, because once you stop paying rent, you do not have that pressure of paying rent. You can now think of investing. And now when you are planning of investing, now you need to look at somewhere where you'll get the maximum return, because now this is like a business and you want to maximize on the return. So look for land that is first of all within town areas. Look for land that has the infrastructure, including the electricity, including roads, including water, sewer line, such things, because that land for sure is a bit high on the value. Then look at somewhere, do the due diligence. It should not be within the, and that when you do the search, you can tell this is a riparian land. You can be able to tell this land is for public use. And again, it's important to talk to the locals. A local, you will ask them a question, does here flood? They'll give you an instant answer without even them realizing how they have helped you. So it's important. So the most important is to look at the return on investment. And especially for first-time homeowners, I would encourage, let's not be so choosy, because you end up spending so much money for your first-time home. And you can imagine having been employed and working for, let's say, your productive life is, let's say, 30 years. You work for 25 years just to pay a house. You can imagine it's a total loss. So for first-time homeowners, don't be so choosy. Get a home, stop paying rent. Then pay that loan for that first house within 4, maximum 5 years. Then from there, start planning on how you can invest a home or a house, which can be generating you a return on investment, because that is the only way to grow wealth. And for sure, there have been so many people who are selling land, but for speculation purposes, it's also important to work with people who are adding value to the land, because you can buy so many people chunks of land but never developed. You find that at the end of the day, even after you have put the investment, it doesn't give you a proper return. So it's important also to talk to people who understand, like us, Mizizi Africa Homes Limited. You consult us, we give you even free advice, we walk with you the journey, and at the end of the day, within no time, a majority of us will be out of the financial bondage that most of us are in.
Let's talk money, financial bondage. You also want to just get yourself to buy something that is pretty much affordable. It's not readily available today. And like we have said, historically, we've seen the prices of land always shooting up. If you have a piece of land and perhaps you're in this space where you say you buy land for purposes of selling in future, just what do you do to make sure that you maintain the value of the same, so that it makes sense even when you're coming out there to say that this is the price, which perhaps is extreme. We have seen areas where land prices remain the same, and there are areas where the next year you realize it's in millions, the next you realize it's in trillions and billions and all that.
Thank you, Linda. As I started by saying, it all goes back to the first issue which handled, which is some of the factors we consider when we are buying land. And we said the surrounding, the economic activity within the surrounding. Because there is no way you will buy land in a remote area somewhere in the village and you expect that land to appreciate threefold or 2 times or 7-fold within 1 year or 2 years. It all matters. What are some of the economic activities within that particular area? Number 2, like for us at Vanke Homes, what we do, when we buy a huge chunk of land and subdivide and decide to sell to our customers, we normally we sink a borehole in it. These are just some of the value additions we put on the land to ensure even the appreciation rate of that particular piece of land is not the same like other pieces of land within the surrounding. Number 2, we fence all our lands. This makes sure, again, when you come in as a new buyer, there is no question of who owns this particular piece of land. It's automatic. You look at it and you can tell this land belongs to Vanke Homes, because looking at it with the brand colors that are already on the ground, there is no question about it. Thirdly, what I advise is some people buy land and they leave it bare. It is not advisable. If you have something you can do on that particular piece of land, even if it is a car wash, even if it is maybe planting hay, let's say this land is somewhere in some remote area, okay? You can even decide to plant grass and say, I'll be able to be doing hay from this particular place. Simply is, you just need to do something on that particular piece of land that slowly by slowly will be able to add on some value to that particular piece of land. However, if your land is in a prime particular place where the surrounding is maybe a city, an upcoming town, or there is a major bypass that is going to pass there, or maybe a train station, an SGR, or something. Because you see, when you get a blueprint map, these maps are available at the Survey of Kenya. You can be able to tell where will a bypass pass in the next several years. Where will a main road pass? Maybe it's a 15-meter, 15-meter road that passes here, then you know automatically that place will be a commercial place. Okay? So some of these things you need to consider. You need to keep them in check early enough before you even decide to buy. Because when you look at the blueprint maps, I can tell you for free, you'll be able to ascertain and you'll be able to know something will come up here in future, or maybe there will be a school, or maybe there will be an industry. Some areas are industrial by nature. Then these are some of the things I believe you need to be very careful to consider before you make that particular step. However, maintaining the value of land, these are land as a factor of production sometimes cannot be controlled.
Yeah.
These are things that are controlled by market forces. These are things that are controlled by economic forces within the surrounding where your land is. Are social amenities available? Is electricity available in that place? Are schools, access to government offices and institutions available to that particular place? Because once you have this land near these facilities, then you are guaranteed and you are sure that absolutely the value of that land is going to go up when it comes to speculation purposes.
All right, and perhaps just to give us an overview of what you see of the real estate market analysis today. And I know you've started by speaking highly of how the government is coming in handy to make the necessary adjustments. So we are on course, and especially when it comes to incorporation of the private sector.
Sure. Yeah, thank you very much. And something very important is information. Information is power.
Yeah.
And some of these bad decisions that people make is because of lack of information. You find that, and as my brother has said, if you can have that blueprint map from the Survey of Kenya, you can be able to tell, like riparian land, land that is public land. And also more importantly, you can go a step further, and like Kenya, we have our Vision 2030. Our Vision 2030 is what the Jubilee administration has used to come up with the SGR, to come up with the Ndogo Kundu, which is currently ongoing, to come with the Lamu Port. All these things already they have been put in the Vision 2030. And we are very happy because the government is following the prints, the footsteps of Vision 2030, because by 2030 we want to be a middle income and a country, and for sure the steps, it's only that they may have been a bit slow, but now we want to encourage the government to increase the speed so that some of these blueprints that we have set out in the Vision 2030 can be realized much faster. Because you find, for example, like us, Mizizi Africa Homes Limited, we have ventured in Diani.
Yeah.
And Diani is an area, and Kwale County, those South Coast. It's an area whereby it has had a very big challenge of transportation. It has been like almost a landlocked, and it's a mainland. Because the land, you can only go through Mombasa Island for you to go to South Coast. So you find that South Coast was like an island. It was not accessible. But now there is a Ndogo Kundu bypass which is being done, which is a bridge, which is very well ongoing, and it's at 90% complete. And there is also, you had to go through ferry. Yeah. Which is very discouraging. There's also a road that is going through the Shimba Hills, going through Kwale headquarters, going all the way now to Kunda. You find that some of these infrastructures, yes, they are there in the Vision 2030, but you find a majority of people do not have this information. And that is why we are encouraging people, like if you want to invest and you want to get a high return on investment, you need to go and look at the Vision 2030 blueprint. The Silicon City, those things that had been talked as if they were just dreams, these things now are being coming to reality. We have the Konza City, which is very well ongoing. We have areas that had been earmarked by the LAPSSET because we want to open up our country. We want to have our country doing business with our neighbors. We want to have our countries attracting foreign direct investment. We want to have our country as a middle income earner. And for us to get there, we have to look at the vision itself and take advantage. Like for example, like right now in Diani, in the next few years, land there will be untouchable. But ironically, when you go there right now, the land has not really gone up. But if you do your proper, you plan ahead of time. Yeah, you plan ahead of time, and not only doing guesswork, you do proper research. For sure, you will find that a majority of people who are investing now, a few years down the line, they are the people now who will be reselling and making a handsome return. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's great. Gentlemen, time is moving very fast. Perhaps to just understand, what about Vanke Homes? What are some of the products special and different that you have for purposes of those ones that would be interested? And you know, it's quite a confusing affair when you have that money seated in the bank and now you have to calculate and say, I have to work with the right, you know, developer, the right person who walks me through the journey of taking a piece of land. And sometimes we ignore the importance of professionals, but then it comes in handy.
Thank you, Linda. Vanke Homes, we deal with land and real estate. And currently we have a number of projects. And one of the key projects I'll highlight is the Konza City project. That is the Silicon Savannah City, as my brother George has talked about. In a nutshell, Konza sits on a 5,000 acre piece of land. Nairobi City sits on a 2,000 acre piece of land. So speaking, Konza City sits on 2.5 times the size of Nairobi City. And right now, as we speak, all the horizontal development at Konza City has been completely effected and completed. Right now, there is a lot of activity going on at Konza City, and just opposite the Konza City main gate, 600 meters from Mombasa Road, we have a prime property. We're calling it Tabasamu Gardens, phase 1. We are launching it on 11th of February. We have an open day this coming Saturday on 11th February. And we have amazing offers, honestly speaking, because you don't need to have the full amount for you to own that particular piece of land. We give up to 6 months period when it comes to repayment. Sometimes we even extend, depending. It's all about the kind of arrangement that we talk. It's a willing buyer, willing seller. And right now, 50 by 100, ready title deed, fully fenced, we are selling at 800,000. That's the Valentine offer. Normally it goes for 850,000. So we are telling people, instead of 850, we're selling at 800,000. Secondly, we are launching 2 projects, one in Nanyuki and the other one in Malindi. And this one we are calling it Subscribe to Own. Subscribe to Own is we are targeting the small scale SMEs, Mama Mbogas, the Makangas, the person who earns 10,000, 20,000, the person who cannot afford deposit of 100,000, 200,000 for them to own a piece of land. We are telling them, if you're running a business, if you are a Mama Mboga, or if you are a Matatu guy, you can be paying that little of 200 shillings per day. And then every weekend, come with your family, feel the comfort of owning a home. Come there, sit there, enjoy with your family. You can even do a meal. You can enjoy that. You start actualizing it, thinking it and actualizing it. So Subscribe to Own is something we believe we will be able to help so many people in terms of owning land. And this is also in tandem with the government the government plan of affordable housing to many people. Right now, as we speak, if you notice, the mortgages have gone high. The percentage, the interest rate on mortgages is about 18%. So if you would pay 18% on a mortgage, how would we be able to afford that kind of particular luxury anymore? We cannot. So we are saying we want to reach the people banks cannot reach. We want to reach people in financial institutions cannot reach. People who do not have that huge credit rating of 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. But with your 200 shillings a day, that is 6,000 a month. When you translate it, we are telling you, you can comfortably become a homeowner through Vanke Homes.
Well, check them out. And of course, you'll be telling us how you get a hold of you. But before then, he mentioned something very important. And then it gets me thinking. We perhaps think so much so about the investor, and we forget about the developers. We forget about these people, you people who walk us through this journey. What are the risks on your end, briefly, as you also tell us what Mizizi is doing?
Sure. Thank you very much. And for sure, it's important when you are walking the journey of investing your lifetime investment or your lifetime savings, to walk with somebody who at least understands the journey. And we are For example, as Visit Africa Homes Limited, we include surveyors, we include the professionals, because you find that people fear professionals, and this is because they assume that these people are quite expensive. And on the contrary, if you make a mistake, the loss you'd make would be so much. So it's important to work with the right developers, the right partners, and for sure, the first step to even owning that home is having that parcel of land. And I'm happy my brother, they are selling the plots and very affordably, which is very commendable. Now, once you have the piece of land, because you find that, let's say for example, not everybody will plan to settle maybe that area, and people, they normally like staying where they are close to their work. You find that, like for example, as Visit Africa Homes Limited, a majority of people who are buying the houses, they are people who have disposed of their plots, which they had bought some maybe as they were starting their careers, slowly somebody held their hands and they were able to acquire that parcel of land. Then over time, like for example now, if we have like the plot my brother is talking about near Konza, for sure once Konza is done, the value of that plot will be higher. So you can imagine if you had bought that plot affordably and now you need like 5 million, you'll be surprised that that parcel of land will be worth your house. So it's important, yes, to secure your parcel of land early enough, starting from the moment you get your first income, start putting it in a land, and that is what basically even us, we are encouraging. You have that parcel of land. You may not have to construct it immediately. It may take you even some time. Then by the time that Konza City has appreciated, now you will be in a position, you are even being looked by the bank, because they are telling you can see you have a good income. What the banks looks at is your income. Basically, how you use your money may not be their concern, and including even the circles. But if you have, but they must ask you for a collateral. So they see you have good security because you have a regular source of income, you are making good savings. How now can we come and use this collateral and assist you construct your house? So the encouragement here is if you had already bought a parcel of land sometimes back, the place now is prime for development. Do not now risk your investment by going to people who do not understand to quirks. Like for example, you had stated a case of a certain contractor. Go to the people who have been vetted, people who have done a proper job. Give them the work to construct for you. Because again, we have noted contractors, for one reason or another, mostly they do not really market their, or they do not, there's not that information. But my brother had said you can go to the NC and get all those contractors, which is very good. So the encouragement here is, let us get that information. Let us visit the government portals. And I'm happy the government is, the way it is now making things to be accessible, because with accessibility of information and people holding hands, like for example, if my brother, there are people who already have are ready for being constructed, we hold hands, we assist the person, because we find that unfortunately some other land sellers, the moment you have bought off the land, now they move on to the next. They do not even connect you to. But if that encouragement can be there for the investor, you want to construct what kind of a house, I can recommend this kind of a person. They will charge you affordably, and they also give you quality. Like us, Visit Africa Homes Limited, when we do that, for sure we complete the cycle, because the cycle is complete upon the customer getting the keys to their house. So for us, like what we are doing, we give you the title first, then we do the construction, we give you the key, as opposed to giving you the title together with the key. We separate those two issues, and by so doing, for sure we are going to remove all the risks involved. We are going to remove any losses, and for sure we are going to grow our country and our economy at large.
Well put. So how do they get a hold of you for more information, in case they'd want to question before we close?
For more information, one, they can get us through our social media plugins. That is Vanke Homes on Instagram, Vanke Homes on Facebook, and Vanke Homes on Twitter. or they can reach us directly at www.vankehomes.co.ke or through our email info@vankehomes.co.ke. However, they can also visit our offices. We are located at Kindaruma Road, opposite Chinatown.
Okay.
That is suite number 9. So if they need to reach us, they need to come to our offices, they come directly to Kilimani, Kindaruma Road, or they can call us on 0720 999 991.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Jum Titei, Business Development Manager, Vanke Homes, and lastly, the CEO, Mizizi Africa Homes, George Mboro. How do they get a hold of you?
Sure. Yeah, thank you very much. To get to us, Mizizi Africa Homes Limited, our phone number is 020 790 2215. I say that again, 020 790 2215. You can also reach us in all our social media platforms, including YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Mizizi Africa Homes Limited, or Mizizi Africa Homes, you'll find us. Then you can also write us an email on info@miziziafricahomes.com. Yeah, thank you so much, and may God bless.
Bless you more, gentlemen. Thank you so much for speaking to us. If you have been meaning to make that bold move and get that investment, but you're a little bit skeptical and you are shying away, I mean, make sure that you just get yourself off this fear. Engage specialists. They will walk you through this journey that will be a game changer, a lifetime game changer. Like the gentleman started by saying, it's a dream of every other person to own their home. They thought you can just go back